What are you doing? You know the rules. You call for backup. You need to be safe, and you need to be smart.
Dad,
Just do better next time. All right? You're paying for this, by the way.
Hi everyone, I'm Dom Griffin, I'm a film critic and you're watching the Armchair Auteur. This is an ongoing video series I do where we talk about new movies, old movies, screenplay analysis, television series reviews, that sort of thing. So if you like movies and you like popular culture and you like to see somebody pick those things apart, please consider subscribing. Today I'm going to review the new Netflix series Jupiter's Legacy. Kinda. It's sort of a review, but not really. The TLDR on this show is that I did not like Jupiter's Legacy very much. So much so, in fact, that I dipped out before the series was even over, and I wasn't even gonna make a video about it, but it just kept nagging at me why it didn't work and what I didn't like about it, so I thought I would share that with all of you. This isn't gonna be like a full series teardown like I did with the Amazon Prime's Them or other shows. This is gonna be me just talking about what I did see of the show, what I thought about it, why I don't think it is worth your time, and if you're like about to jump in the comments and give me grief about not finishing the show, you have to understand that if I thought there was a chance that the things I didn't like about it would somehow magically change mid-season, I would have stuck with it, but that's not possible, so I left. Life is just too short. So before I talk about what doesn't work about Jupiter's Legacy, I may as well talk about what Jupiter's Legacy even is. Jupiter's Legacy is a new Netflix series set in a world of superheroes, where the old guard of heroes, led by Josh Duhamel as the Utopian, have maintained a certain status quo since their emergence in the 1930s, but have made no real efforts to improve life for the rest of the world. A sticking point between the Utopian and his older brother Brainwave, played by Ben Daniels, who thinks their politics-free approach to world-saving is a waste of time. Additionally, the new generation of heroes, primarily Utopian's son Paragon, played by Andrew Horton, and his druggy influencer daughter Chloe, played by Elena Camporis, either can't measure up to his ideals or just don't care altogether. The series is based on the comic of the same name from writer Mark Millar and artist Frank Quitely, and I'll be honest that it's one of my favorite Millar books, even though it's got significant issues itself. See, here's the thing about Mark Millar. Millar has long been a successful comics creator for two reasons. First, he exclusively writes comic stories that are tailor-made to be adapted to television or film, usually basic elevator pitch concepts that get their rights sold before the first issue even hits stands. This is why Netflix ponied up so much money to essentially buy his entire brand going forward, so that all new Millar ideas funnel right onto the streaming platform. And two, his ideas and working method attract the best artists in the business because they know Mark will write to their strengths and stay out of their way, and that they're likely to get to buy a house from the movie deal for drawing "What if Flash Gordon was old? What if the Flash was poor?" or whatever else he comes up with. The best thing about his comics is rarely their narratives or themes or characterization, certainly not their dialogue, but rather that he contrives excuses for some of the best illustrators in the biz to cut loose and show what they're made of. John Romita Jr.'s work on Kick-Ass when it first debuted felt like such a fun departure from the stuff he was doing for Marvel at the time. And Jupiter's Legacy, though far from Frank Quitely's finest work, Pax Americana, features some of his most impressive visuals. It's drawn in a style that is so broad and iconic that it works well with the approach Millar takes to this world. Yeah, Millar's earlier work on The Authority with Quitely was satirical and hyper-violent and self-aware, but Jupiter's Legacy at its best taps into the same aspirational, earnest approach to telling superhero stories that made Millar's underrated work on Superman adventures so special. It feels like a comic written by the Millar who grew up loving Superman, not the one who got rich conjuring gross things that could happen to analogs of corporate comics legends. An adaptation of Jupiter's Legacy has the potential to cherry-pick the best stuff from the comic and its prequel spin-off, Jupiter Circle, to act as an interesting counterpoint to something like The Boys, and be a superhero show about what we all love about the genre, rather than an ugly refutation of its supremacy in popular media. Its best moments grapple with the effects of capitalism, with the nature of American popular culture, and feature a properly Shakespearean approach to the lineage of masked heroism. It's flawed, sure, but it's a pretty fun book. But then you watch Jupiter's Legacy, and it's not that at all. First of all, the pacing is absolutely trash, and finding a way to take a 10-issue comic that isn't even particularly dense and making it into an 8-episode TV series, one that leaves room for subsequent seasons, wouldn't have been my move. This is a comic that would not be remotely difficult to condense into a movie or two. In fact, that would have more closely mirrored the scope and tone of the source material. Instead, you get a show that takes its time getting to the good shit. And although I tapped out at episode 3 myself, from what I've read online, they don't even get to the actual good shit. Here's the thing. Jupiter's Legacy, as a story, isn't amazing. It's the way it's told and the quality of the art and the spectacle that makes it work. To really make a movie or a TV show that feels the way the best Mark Millar comics read, you would have to do it with a humongous budget and a prestige talent so it would feel properly mythic. But this is a TV series on Netflix, so that wasn't gonna fucking happen. Like, yeah, the costumes are largely accurate to the designs of the comic, the casting isn't awful, even if Josh Duhamel's presence alone makes this feel cheap and lesser. Ben Daniels and Leslie Bibb both hold their own and kind of make up for it. But the show's direction is absolute dog shit. It has all the irritating pockmarks of disposable television content, the messy use of handheld, the shitty bokeh masquerading as art, the action, the choreography, the visuals all feel so crummy and ugly and like, somehow this show makes the Arrowverse look like an Alex Ross painting. I cannot begin to fathom what the purpose in adapting something so specifically visually appealing would be if the finished result is this chintzy and regrettable. Stephen S. DeKnight, a guy who helped craft some of the best episodes of Buffy and Angel, but also gave us the Pacific Rim sequel I wish was never made, is the showrunner here, and I applaud him for trying to rethink the story of the comic for the format it was being adapted to, choosing to cut back and forth between present-day stuff and the flashback material from the prequel comic, but the result is so crummily written and inconsistently acted that I wish he hadn't bothered. Like, what the fuck is this shit?
You rotten little Marxists! Capitalism made this building. It made your homes, and it made your cars. And my father made the steel that built everything that makes this country the greatest in the world.
I know some of you may be watching this wondering how I could pass judgment on the show I didn't even finish, but I would think the fact that I couldn't even finish it, given some of the horrendous things I watch on this channel, would be evidence enough that the show is not worth watching. If it was simply a matter of waiting for the show to find its footing, or waiting for the story to pick up, I would have waited around, gladly. But the show looks like hot garbage, and there's no way the subsequent 5 episodes are going to pull a rabbit out of their hat and change that fact. Shows don't suddenly get better directed or more carefully written midway through an 8-episode season. I've put myself through too much terrible shit on this channel to devote any more energy to the show than I absolutely had to. And I wanted it to be good, or at least watchable, because I enjoyed the comic. And honestly, the best Millar adaptations, the ones helmed by Matthew Vaughn, are actually improvements on their source material. In both Kick-Ass and The First Kingsman, Vaughn was working on their adaptations in parallel with the original comic, so both wound up being better than Millar's work in execution. But this is significantly worse. Maybe by the time an inevitable season 2 gets made, I will get bored enough to finish the show in anticipation of putting myself through that ringer of a second season. There is a small probability that I might come back and give it a second chance, but probably not. I would encourage you to find something better to do with your time as well. Those are my thoughts on Jupiter's Legacy. No, I didn't finish the show. No, I don't think you should bother starting it. If Netflix keeps flashing it in front of you when you log in to find something to watch, just rewatch Tim Robinson's I Think You Should Leave instead. The first season's amazing. It's hilarious. There's nothing to do with superheroes, but I love that show, and I think everyone else should see it too. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the little bell icon so you get notifications when I put out new videos. If you have any thoughts about Mark Millar comics, about Jupiter's Legacy, about anything, you want to talk to me about it, you can do so in the comments below because I like talking to you guys. Yeah, that's it. Thank you again for watching. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe, being good to yourselves and each other, wearing your masks, getting vaccinated, all that stuff we have to do to get herd immunity. And yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Bye.